Greetings Commanders, this is KreeKree here and I'm an elite dangerous content creator. If you'd like to catch me live, you can join me at twitch.tv/KreeKree, where we have our weekly Fair Dinkum Fridays, where we come together to kill Thargoids so you can make those millions. Now that's not what you're here for. What you're here for is this build. And this build today is an exploration 𝗕𝗓𝗡. This is aimed for beginners that wants to get out of the Sidewinder, but still wants to get out and explore the galaxy. Now let's get into it. So let's start with the hard points. With the hard points, because you'll be exploring, the fact that you won't be encountering any kind of hostile contact, there's no point in you having anything there, so we'll leave that blank. Next is the utility mounts. Now for the utility mounts, I do have a heatsink launcher. This is just in case that you are scooping from a sun or you heat up your ship in many other ways, then you can pop a heatsink. I've only got one in this build, mostly because I'm trying to keep the build as light as possible. You can put in another heatsink launcher, it just means that you'll lose a small amount of light years that you can jump. Next is the core internal. As I mentioned before, I'm keeping this as light as possible just so you can travel as far as possible. So with the armor, keeping it with the lightweight alloys. The power plant, I've gone with a 2A just so that you do have enough, and with the mass it is probably the best because you could go with a B, but then the mass would increase, which means that your jump range would get a bit smaller. With the thrusters, I'm keeping this as a D-rated class 2 thrusters, just so that once again keeping things light, because as a lot of commanders would know that D-rated modules are the lightest modules available. Next is the frame shift drive. I've gone with a 2A. Obviously this is so that we can obviously have the best possible frame shift drive, so we can jump as far as we can without compromising with the mass of the module itself. Life support, I've gone with a 1D, once again keeping things light, 1D with the power distributor, and 1D with the sensors as well, keeping with the D-rated modules to keep things light. Now on to the optional internal. Now for the first class 3, I've put in a 3A fuel scoop. This is so that you can scoop pretty quickly when traveling out in space. And a fuel scoop doesn't actually weigh anything, so putting in a 3A is probably your best bet. Next I've gone with a 2D shield generator. This is basically just because that the mass of this is only 1 ton. You're not going to need a whole lot of shields when you're out exploring, but you're going to need a bit, so having 2D is definitely a good choice. Next I've got a 2G planetary vehicle hangar. Now this is 6 tons. If you go with the H, it is actually 12 tons, obviously making it heavier, reducing your light year range. Now you could go without a planetary vehicle hangar, but I would advise against that, mostly because when you're out exploring you may need to use a SRV, which is the vehicle that is in a planetary vehicle hangar, to collect materials in case you need them to use an FSD injection. Next I've gone with the all-important detail surface scanner. This is definitely a must when you're out exploring. This is what you use to scan planets and their moons. It is obviously best to use this on planets that are more financially better for you, so Earth-like worlds, water worlds, ammonia worlds, terraformable worlds, and you can also go for metal-rich worlds as well. But there's nothing stopping you from scanning everything, just so you can get your name out there in the galaxy. Now for the next 2, I have put in the Super Cruise Assist and Advanced Docking Computer. You won't necessarily need them, but if you want things to be a bit more cruisy, then you can certainly put them in there. There's plenty of room for them, and because they are software, they won't actually weigh down your ship. And lastly, now into the vehicle bays, because we have the hangar, let's get into the vehicle. So we've got one of the SRVs. Because of the size of the hangar, we can only put one vehicle in there. So With that in mind, make sure that you keep an eye on the SRV's health. You can go and dock it back into your ship for it to be automatically repaired. Otherwise, you can access the 4th panel, going into the synthesis and repairing your SRV that way. As you can see here, that the jump range is a maximum of 26.42 light years, which is pretty good for a little hauler before you even start engineering it. Now, as for the cost of this hauler, it would only cost you a little over 1.5 million credits to build and buy the ship as well, with a rebuy of only a little under 80,000 credits. As always, I will have a link in the description for the build for Coriolis as well as 𝗕𝗬𝗧𝗘𝗗𝗓. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, then please consider subscribing, liking the video, and leaving a comment below. Anyway, here is a video that YouTube thinks that you will like. I'll see you over there, Commander. Fly safe.